Yes, it's the first results show for the new Premier League season. Before I get started by going through the matches, just a brief word. I'm going to try to reduce the amount of time to get through all the games, and I'm planning to give lengthy reports on the matches that I've actually watched throughout, and matches where I've only had highlights, I will keep them very brief. So I'm sure you're all very pleased about that. So I've already done the Liverpool match, but I won't be starting with that. I will do that at the end of Saturday's games. So to the early kickoff then on Saturday. It was at the London Stadium, West Ham at home to the champions Manchester City. Team news. I did watch all of this game, so it's going to be an extensive review. Team news. Jesus was up front with Aguero on the bench. Rodri, the new signing for City, was installed, and they had Mahrez in. Apparently Sonny's got an injury, and David Silva was partnering De Bruyne in midfield. No place for Bernardo Silva. He was on the bench with Gundogan. For the Hammers, they had their new signing, Haller, who they've signed from Frankfurt. I believe it's the Hammers' most expensive signing, in to replace Arnautovic, of course. And Haller got 20 goals last season at Frankfurt. Rice and Wiltshire were in midfield. It's a bit of a cagey beginning. The first piece of action was Rodri. He got caught in possession by Lanzini, and although he recovered, there was some debate about whether he brought Lanzini down in the box. However, VAR, yes, video assisted replay is now on board in the Premier League. VAR looked at it and no pen. After 9 minutes, Fabianski was brought into action, the West Ham goalie, and he managed to push Mahrez's shot away for a corner. 15 minutes, a snapshot from David Silva just wide. And then on 18 minutes, a reflection that both sides were pretty level, really, in terms of possession. West Ham holding their own, which, in contrast to last season, when City dominated the whole match and hardly left West Ham's half. So certainly promising for West Ham. Then we had a chance for City following some nice interplay. Mahrez unfortunately spurned it, hit it wide. That was on 21 minutes. Then on 24 minutes, the first piece of absolute class. A diagonal ball pushed through into the right channel. Walker found some acceleration to go straight past the West Ham defender. He got to the byline, clipped in the ball. Jesus went for it with a defender. The Brazilian got there first, and it was in the back of the net from 5 yards, and Man City were 1 up. Predatory stuff from Jesus, and the first real great piece of play by City. Well, after that, they upped the pace, and confidence started to grow. And the right flank was particularly vulnerable for the Hammers, with Mahrez and Walker overlapping. First effort for West Ham on goal came on 34, Allaire. It was a speculative overhead flick, easily dealt by Ederson. Some more nice passing just before the break, with De Bruyne starting to look comfortable on the ball. His sweet shot just inside the box was held comfortably by Fabianski. So 1-0 at the break. Point about Rodrigo, he was looking very solid, both in defence and linking up with the front men into the second half, and City took control from the off, and it really became men against boys. 57 minutes, a clinical attack. De Bruyne set it up Sterling on the left of the penalty box. He went into the box and slotted the ball through Fabianski's legs, and that was 2-0. Clinical precision from Sterling, and a few minutes later he was at it again. A slide rule pass to him, and he managed to beat the offside trap, or so we thought, and he pushed the ball across the centre of the goal, and Jesus was there again to whack it in the net. However, what then happened was that VAR, they have to actually review all the goals, denied that third goal on the basis that Sterling's shoulder was in an offside position. So West Ham relieved that it stayed 2-0. However, it didn't take long for City to overcome that disappointment. A few subs came on. Hernandez came on for Philippe Anderson, and Aguero replaced Jesus. That was on 67 minutes, but lost a bit of impetus really for about 10 minutes. And West Ham did have a couple of efforts. The first one, a header from Hernandez that Ederson saved well, and then the follow-up was blocked from a Lanzini effort. That was on 72 minutes. On 75 minutes though, the match was basically decided, and it was all over. A beautiful scooped ball over the top by Mahrez. Sterling's anticipation was first class, and he clipped the ball over the keeper, and that was 3-0. VAR didn't chalk that one off, and then a matter of sort of 8 minutes later, West Ham gave the ball away. Mahrez headed into the box. He got tripped up. Aguero stepped up, but his penalty was saved. However, VAR again stepped in, and he had to retake it because Rice had encroached into the box. No problems with the second effort. Aguero on the score sheet. That was 85 minutes. And then in stoppage time, Sterling slotted in his third wide of the keeper after not a great ball put through the defence, I think by Gundogan, and West Ham were dying for the whistle then. They looked well beaten after a promising start. So the verdict, West Ham lacked fitness really, I thought, in the second half after a promising beginning. City, after that edgy first 15, they took control and they looked every bit as good as we've been seeing over the last 2 weeks. Man of the match, Raheem Sterling, a hat-trick. What a predator he is, and I really do think that he has come on so much. So final score, West Ham 0, Manchester City 5. So to the rest of Saturday's matches, brief reviews of these games because I only really saw highlights. At the Vitality Stadium, Bournemouth got their season going with a home fixture against newly promoted Sheffield United. Chris Wilder, the manager, 2 promotions in the last 3 seasons for the Blades, and they had their new signing Norwood on debut. It was very, very windy on the south coast, not ideal for good football. Early chance for Sheffield United, which was spilled by McGoldrick. The Cherries, a bit hit and miss really. Wilson having problems really getting any decent service. It got to the break really in a scrappy affair, goalless. Second half then, another effort by McGoldrick, which he should have converted, let the Cherries off the hook. But then on 62 minutes, Bournemouth took the lead from Mevan. Nice finish after poor defending. The Blades didn't give up, and they were worthy of their equaliser. It came on 88 when Billy Sharp, who's been scoring goals throughout his career in all the divisions, and we're talking about Championship first and second, he was in the right place in the 6-yard box to convert. It was a scrappy effort, but Wilder didn't care. It was 1-1 at the whistle, about right, I would say. At the new White Hart Stadium, Spurs had a home fixture against Villa. 60,000 turned up for this one, and they had their new man Ogdombilla. Did I get that pronunciation right? Ogdombilla on show. He's cost a right packet from Lyon, I believe. But the early action saw Villa really very impressive, and McGinn on 9 minutes after a long ball over the top caught the Spurs defence sleeping. McGinn ran onto the ball, and his cool finish hit the right corner. Lloris well beaten, so 1-up Villa. Well, after that they could have made it 2, but as is often the case, the team fancied to win, got more into the game. Sissoko had a chance that he fluffed on, and we got to the break, and it was still 1-0. However, second half totally dominated by Spurs, and Nendobile he got his first goal on debut. A nice shot just inside the box, and then Harry Kane woke up, and 2 goals from him in the last 5 minutes made it look comfortable for Spurs. The first one was following a ricochet in the box when the ball came to Kane's foot, and that was it. 2-1 for Spurs. And then his second in the corner in added time after Villa gave the ball away. So in the end it was comfortable for Spurs, winning this one by 3-1. I'll be interested to see what happens with Eriksen. He had been linked with a possible move to Man U. Of course the transfer window's closed now, but he was only a sub. Turf Moor's first fixture, Burnley at home to Southampton. Been a few changes. Pope was back in goal for Burnley. Heaton's gone to Villa, but Hart on the bench. Strange decision. Rodriguez has come from West Brom. He was in the starting lineup on the bench though, and 2 draws last season in the 2 matches. An early goal by Burnley was chalked off by VAR for a sort of, I think, handball before it got to Barnes, who put it in. Burnley slightly having the edge, but it got to the break goalless. However, the second half was all Burnley, and Barnes took command, and he scored a brace. Some 2 good finishes. He's certainly come on as a striker, and then Goodmanson managed to make it 3-0 on 75. An encouraging start for Deitch. Burnley winning this one by 3-0. Problems for Hasenhüttl. Right, let's move on to Brighton, who travelled to Watford. Got a new coach. Graham Potter came in from Swansea. Watford certainly looked the favourites pre-match, but it didn't turn out like that at all. In fact, Watford's stars Deeney and Brooks and Delafeu were anonymous, and it was Brighton on the offensive, a very different Brighton. They forced an early mistake by Decore on 28, and it ended up in their own net. That was following a cross from Gross. And then the second half, they added a second and then a third from Marpe, a second from Andoni, 2 subs that Potter brought on, and they ended the game a comfortable 3-0 winners. Watford were woeful. Certainly lots of work to do for Garcia, and so Brighton off to a flyer, winning away 3-0. So the last of the fixtures on Saturday, Crystal Palace at home to Everton, Silva and Hodgson battling together. Willie Saha was on the bench for Palace, not quite ready after his exaltations in the African Nations Cup. And Milivojevic signed a new deal, so he is staying with Palace. Benteke up front, a dismal record of only 4 goals in the last 2 seasons. He's hoping that will change. Everton on top early on. Sigurdsson missed a sitter. Richarlison's strike was blocked from a corner, and Palace did well to hang on, really. Their defence pretty solid. They did have an effort just before the break, which was deflected over. Second half, well, much the same, although Palace did come into it a bit more. Van Aanholt pushed an effort away off the line. Everton still slightly having the edge, but late on, Pickford basically saves Everton with 2 great saves. One from Ayew and the second from Maya. It ended goalless. Scheidling managed to get himself 2 yellows, so he is now off and suspended. But it was a pretty disappointing affair, and it ended Crystal Palace 0, Everton 0. Okay, the first match of the new Premier League season is done and dusted. It happened on Friday night at Anfield, Liverpool taking on newly promoted Norwich. Well, a comprehensive first half performance by Liverpool showed the gap in class between the Premiership and the Championship. Norwich got off to a dreadful start when Origi's cross was turned into his own net by Hanley. That was 7 minutes, and a bit of good fortune on 19 set up Salah, who converted with that great left foot of his in the corner. 9 minutes later, following a corner, Van Dijk, commanding as ever, headed in for 3-0. I don't know what the Norwich defence was doing. He seemed to be surrounded by players who didn't want to mark him. And then just before the break on 42, Origi in for Mane, converted the 4th. The second half was a bit of a damp squib, really, although Norwich did find their feet, and their prolific goal scorer from Finland, Pukki, scored a nice goal in the corner past the substitute goalkeeper who came on for Alisson. That was on 64 minutes. The rest of the game really petered out. The final whistle greeting a first Liverpool win of the season. Klopp was delighted. So the final score at Anfield, Liverpool 4, Norwich 1.